Dear friends, I'm very honored to be invited to deliver this keynote, and I wish I could have been with you in person in Singapore for this very important Undiagnosed Day event. Thank you, Hélène and Mike, for this very kind invitation. The undiagnosed cause is deeply personal to me. As a mother, I know firsthand the silent, painful journey that families of undiagnosed children endure. My own child experienced actually recurrent pediatric fevers, an autoinflammatory condition. So for 6 long years, we were told, well, it's normal, he's simply building his immune system. But deep down, I knew that there was more to it. We lived during that time in a cloud of uncertainty, without answers, without recognition, and without a name for what he was going through. So this experience taught me something profound, that to be recognized, to be visible, to have a name on our condition changes everything. It transforms silence into action, it transforms isolation into care, and it gives families and person living with an undiagnosed disease or rare disease the dignity and the support that they deserve. This is why today, on this Global Undiagnosed Day, I'm deeply proud to share some wonderful news. Rare Disease International, the Wilhelm Foundation, and the Rare Care Center at Perth Children's Hospital are coming together in a new formal collaboration. We are uniting our strength, our expertise, and our vision to advance diagnosis and care for people living with rare and undiagnosed disease across the world. Through this partnership, we will contribute to build better care pathways and work towards the proof of concept for the global network for rare diseases, which is a global ecosystem of collaboration, care, and action. So together, we are making a global statement. No one should carry the weight of the unknown alone. No diagnosis delay, no life left on hold. And we are acting at a truly historic moment. In just a few weeks, at the World Health Assembly in Geneva in May, a resolution on rare diseases should be adopted. This resolution, which is supported by 26 member states and with the support of a coalition of 260 organizations in which Wilhelm and Rare Care Center are part of, this resolution called the World Health Organization to develop the first ever global action plan for rare diseases, which will be a 10-year roadmap to strengthen health systems and improve lives for the millions of people living with rare conditions. So this is a unique opportunity to integrate rare and undiagnosed diseases into national health strategies worldwide, to finally giving the visibility, the recognition, and care to those who waited too long in the shadows. Our new partnership so is not just timely, it's essential to make these promises real for people everywhere. So today we are not just announcing a collaboration, but we are taking a stand for visibility, a stand for dignity, a stand for future where no patient, no family is left invisible in the healthcare system. Thank you to all of you, families, advocates, clinicians, partners who refuse to stand still, who demand better, who believe that every person deserves answers, care, and hope. Together, we are making the invisible visible. And together, we are building the future we believe in. So thank you, and I wish you a really great event.
Hello, I'm Bill Gall, and today on Undiagnosed Diseases Day, I want to call on all the good people of the world to help us to create diagnoses for individuals who don't have diagnoses, by sharing information and experiences with our colleagues. And I congratulate the Wilhelm Foundation for establishing Undiagnosed Disease Day and hope that we will have many more with many, many more successes. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Soumya Jamwar. I'm a clinical geneticist based at KK Women's and Children's Hospital in Singapore. I lead the Singapore Undiagnosed Disease program. It's an honor to be able to host some of the key opinion leaders together with Wilhelm Foundation to celebrate the World Undiagnosed Day today in Singapore. The Undiagnosed Day is a day to highlight the plight of the people living with undiagnosed diseases. These individuals go through hospitals, go through specialists, get misdiagnosis before they get a correct diagnosis, if that does happen. With advanced genomics, with advanced informatics, we are able to solve for 50% to 60% of our patients. But there are still many who remain undiagnosed for many reasons. So we need to come together as a community and try to build a global effort in helping find answers for these patients. This has been done through the Undiagnosed Hackathon organized by the Wilhelm Foundation, where 2 of our patients who had remained undiagnosed for 10 years finally got a diagnosis. We hope by improving awareness about undiagnosed diseases, we can increase the effort that goes into trying to solve the answer and help millions of people who live as an undiagnosed individual. Thank you.
For the 2 to 6% of the global population who are currently undiagnosed, Undiagnosed Day is a day to say, we see you and we care. Now, living and receiving a diagnosis is never easy for anyone with a rare undiagnosed disease, but diagnosis does many things. And importantly, it holds the possibility for care. Now, care, I don't want us to confuse the word care with the word caregiving, because the etymology and history of the word care has 2 distinct meanings. The first is to lament, to call out, and to acknowledge the burden. And the second is aspirational. It reflects the world that we might want to live in. Care is central to what it means to be human and to hold the person together in wholeness. It is both a burden, a responsibility, and an aspirational vision. And so on this Undiagnosed Day, we want to say that we acknowledge the right to care.
My name is Dick Meyer. After nearly 2 decades of leading Genzymes operations in Northern Europe and in the Asia-Pacific region, I founded RareMD. Why? Because while meeting with numerous stakeholders in the rare disease community around the world, it became obvious. There are far more individuals affected by an undiagnosed rare disease than there are medical professionals. So why are not more patients being properly diagnosed, and what can we do about it? Some of the reasons are limited training about rare diseases among medical professionals. To be fair, 7,000 rare diseases is a lot to master. Rare diseases present with both common and uncommon signs and symptoms. Rare diseases are often not considered earlier on in the diagnostic process, leading to misdiagnosis or delayed diagnosis. Identification of a rare disease often requires specialized knowledge and access to specific testing. Difficulty locating relevant medical literature is time-consuming, time that many physicians don't have. Limited or no knowledge about or access to centers of excellence with multidisciplinary expertise in rare diseases. So what did we do? With the support of members of RareMD's Medical and Scientific Advisory Board and others, we addressed those challenges by developing two powerful diagnostic algorithms, built by human intelligence and carefully enhanced by artificial intelligence. One tool is designed for medical professionals, containing detailed information about 4,000 rare diseases and more than 7,000 associated signs and symptoms, each of which has a weight according to its relevance to each rare disease. Selecting from these 7,000 signs and symptoms instantly generates a list of predicted rare diseases ranked by probability. The other tool is developed for patients, parents, and caregivers, using the same information but presented in layman terms. The development of both diagnostic tools exemplifies our unwavering commitment to the global rare disease community. When many more patients are properly and timely diagnosed, pharma companies are expected to conduct more clinical trials to develop more innovative, life-saving drugs. A win-win scenario for all stakeholders involved. Thank you to the Wilhelm Foundation for inviting us to share our story on Undiagnosed Disease Day 2025. For more information, please visit www.raremd.com. Thank you for your attention.
The Undiagnosed Day brings forward the global collaboration to work towards diagnosis of every patient who does not have a diagnosis. I'm proud to say that even in India, we are working towards this goal to leave no one behind. और जैसे हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं, सहयोग हमें आगे बढ़ाएगा. जय हिंद.
Hi, this is Ravneet Kaur and I am 30 years old. I have an elder sister who is 32 years old and a younger brother who is 26. A few months after my sister was born, it was noticed that her eyes were not opening fully. So we consulted an eye specialist at AIIMS in Delhi. The doctor diagnosed the condition as ptosis, which usually occurs due to the weakness in eye muscles. He recommended surgery, but even after the surgery, there was not much improvement. When I and my brother were born, we too had drooping of eyelids. As time went on, all three of us started facing different kinds of difficulties, such as not being able to get up from ground position without support, difficulty in climbing stairs, stammering while speaking, inability to lift heavy weights, feeling tired quickly, etc. So we consulted a neurologist who suggested some tests like MRI, RNST, CT scans, vitamin D, etc. But nothing significant was found. So he suggested us to see a genetics expert. A few years ago, when we got our eye test again, the doctor noticed major restrictions in eye movements. So he too suggested to consult a genetics doctor. So finally, about an year ago, we started our diagnosis journey under Dr. Ratnapuri at Sir Gangaram Hospital. Thank you.
Hello, we are proud to speak on behalf of the Undiagnosed Diseases Network Foundation, or UDNF. Today, on Undiagnosed Day, we stand in solidarity with the millions of individuals and families around the world searching for answers, living each day with uncertainty, yet holding on to hope.
The UDNF was founded to amplify the work of the Undiagnosed Diseases Network, or the UDN, a pioneering National Institutes of Health NIH-funded research study that has transformed lives by using cutting-edge science to diagnose the most complex medical mysteries. But we know that diagnosis is just the beginning. That's why the UDNF exists, to support families throughout their diagnostic journey, accelerate research, and advocate for more equitable access to diagnosis, care, and treatment.
The work happening within the UDN and across institutions like the NIH is extraordinary. We are seeing firsthand how collaboration among clinicians, researchers, patients, and families leads not only to answers, but also to new discoveries that benefit the entire rare disease community.
At the UDNF, we are building a future where no one has to walk this path alone, where every voice is heard, every story matters, and every family has access to hope, connection, and the power of science.
One of the ways we support the undiagnosed and ultra-rare community is through our patient navigation program. Our navigators help undiagnosed individuals and their caregivers prepare and submit their case to the UDN and act as a point of contact with their assigned UDN site. For both the undiagnosed and ultra-rare communities, we offer resources for navigating the healthcare system and building connections with others.
UDNF patient navigators are committed to guiding, supporting, and empowering individuals and families facing complex medical challenges. Our work is driven by the belief that connection, empathy, and shared purpose can create meaningful change and bring hope for a diagnosis. Thank you for recognizing this day and for joining us in this call to action. Together, we can transform the future for those living with undiagnosed and ultra-rare conditions.
Merhaba, iyi günler. Biz istisna projesine Yasemin Hoca sayesinde katıldık. Mehmet Akif doğduğundan beri birçok genetik test yapılmasına rağmen sonuç alamıyorduk. Yasemin Hoca ile çalıştıktan sonra bize bu istisna projesinden bahsetti. Biz de onayladık. Çok kısa bir süre içinde Mehmet Akif teşhisini aldı. Hastalığının durumu öğrenildi. Şimdi Yasemin Hoca ile çalışmaya devam ediyoruz. İnşallah daha iyiye gideceğiz. İstisna projesine ve Yasemin Hoca'ya çok teşekkür ederim.
Hello, my name is Domenica Taruscio. I'm a medical doctor, and I will present the Undiagnosed Diseases Network International, UDNI, on behalf of the UDNI community. UDNI is structured on voluntary basis, and the participants are clinicians, experts, many experts coming from different fields, and patients representatives. The goals are to work collaboratively at international scale to provide diagnosis and care to patients without diagnosis, to facilitate research in the sector, to create an integrated and collaborative community across multiple countries. UDNI has been established 11 years ago, in 2014, in Roma, at l'Istituto Superiore di Sanità, thanks to the William Foundation, Helene Mick Sederot, William Gall, NIH USA, and myself, National Center for Rare Diseases, Istituto Superiore di Sanità. Here you can see the homepage of our UDNI website. I would like to invite you to visit the website and search, because you can find many interesting activities, many facilities, for example, e-learning platforms, educational resources, and also leaflets and other information. Our network has a board, and the members are coming from USA, from Sweden, Brazil, Pakistan, Spain, Italy. This is, in fact, an international board. Our principles and the criteria have been published 10 years ago, in 2015, as a white paper for global actions to meet patients' needs. We are working in working groups We have 10 different working groups: diagnostic working groups, educational, genetic, patient involvement, engagement working group, data sharing and technology, functional studies, and so on. I would like to spend a few words on the working group dedicated to low and middle income countries, which is co-chaired by myself, by Manuel Posada from Spain, Samuel Way from Ghana, and Olaf Bodamer, USA. We are more than 20 countries working together as experts, clinicians, and patient representatives to support the diagnosis, to cooperate with national experts to build local capacity, including training courses and training initiatives, and also to develop global SOPs, standard operation procedures, to achieve correct diagnosis and standard of care initiatives. Now, I would like to underline an important initiative, which is the Undiagnosed Hackathon, a unique event in the field pioneered by the William Foundation. In the past, we had already 2 editions, and now we are waiting for the 2025 edition that will be organized at Mayo Clinic in September. Please join this initiative, which is very, very important for undiagnosed patients. Another important initiative is the Champions Initiative, which is organized in low and middle income countries. And I know that there is a session on that, so I will speed up, and I will continue with saying that UDNI is a very successful initiative for patients, undiagnosed patients. We started 11 years ago with few countries, and now we have 55 countries all over the world. So I would like to say that we organize also conferences. Up to now, we organized 14 UDNI conferences all over the world, in Rome, in Budapest, in Vienna, New Delhi, Stockholm, Tokyo, and so on. And next will be in Brazil. Please join us in Brazil if you are interested in the field. This will be very successful, a conference, and this is the first time that we go in Latin America. So I would like really to invite you to apply as an association, as a patient, as a member, or as a trainee member. Please join us. Be part of the change. Join us. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Siddharth Banka. I'm a professor of genomic medicine at the University of Manchester. I direct the Manchester Rare Condition Centre and co-lead the National Rare and Inherited Disease Network of Excellence in England. 1 in 17 people in the world are thought to have a rare disease, and more than 80% of these rare diseases are thought to have a genetic basis. However, even with the most advanced technologies, more than 50% of patients with suspected rare genetic disorders remain undiagnosed. There are a number of reasons why patients remain undiagnosed. These could be technical, scientific, clinical, or just simply lack of resources. So this fantastic initiative by William Foundation for Undiagnosed Disease Day is really bringing a spotlight on a large proportion of the world who needs and deserves our help, support, and efforts. So let's join our hands together and make this day a success. Thank you.
Hello everyone. It's such a pleasure to join you on this very important day and give an update for the Undiagnosed Disease Network International Diagnostic Working Group. I would like to acknowledge today that I'm presenting on behalf of some incredible people, including Ann Nordgren and Fulja Tallien from the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm in Sweden, from Lorenzo Botto from the University of Utah, and also, of course, as always, acknowledging the incredible support and energy of Mick and Helene from the Wilhelm Foundation. So we were very pleased that our Diagnostic Working Group was featured in NPJ Genomic Medicine towards the end of last year, and there's the article which is open access, which means that everyone can download it, and I'll include a QR code at the end of this talk if you'd like to read and understand more about what we do. But very briefly, it's like a global brains trust where we meet monthly online to discuss how we can help each other find diagnoses for patients around the world who still remain undiagnosed. And so what we do is we really try and help coordinate a discussion about the clinical features, so the way that a suspected undiagnosed condition is affecting an individual or their family members, what genetic testing or other investigations had been done, and really pull together expertise of doctors, of researchers, of scientists, of counsellors all around the world to try and get the best possible route to a diagnosis for those families. I also wanted to really emphasise that this is a volunteer organisation, so we all work professionally, but we're doing the work of the Diagnostic Working Group to support each other in our own time, because we really believe that we want to come together and try and find answers for more families. In the last year, we've been delighted that we've been able to use more and more this standard way of collecting information, and just highlighting this is incredible work that was pioneered through our leaders in Sweden. So there's a questionnaire that you can see and you can download, and this we're encouraging our clinicians to collect information in this way, so that we're all collecting information in a standard way, which really helps us to try and find an answer as quickly as possible. I also wanted to just give a huge thanks to Alistair Ward and his team at Frameshift Genomics. They've volunteered the support of the Mosaic platform, again completely out of the goodness of their hearts, and this is a platform which now allows us to have a central place which, if we've all sign a confidentiality agreement, and if patients have appropriately consented for their data to be shared in a safe way, we can continue these discussions outside of our monthly webinar meetings, so people can join whatever the time zone they are. And this is such a powerful way of bringing everyone together to try and get more opinions and more advice, because really finding diagnoses for these incredibly important children and adults still on their diagnostic odyssey requires a true global village approach. And if you're a clinician or a scientist or a researcher and interested in learning more about this amazing group, and if you'd like to join, volunteer your expertise, your resources, your sequencing abilities, we basically are incredibly keen to hear from you. We really have a mission to try and improve access to diagnoses for families in low and middle income countries. So if you're an organisation that could volunteer some sequencing or other resources, we'd be so delighted to hear from you. So there's my email address, please reach out. And I also wanted to give a huge thanks to Fulja. She is our incredible organiser. She does all of this on top of her own work from her role in the Karolinska Institute in Sweden, and so I've popped up Fulja's email and mine there, and that's the QR code for the article I mentioned. So we're wishing you all the best for this Undiagnosed Disease Day. It is such an important event because we know that half of our families who we think we should get a diagnosis for, we still can't, and I truly believe that it's only working together that we can get more diagnoses in a fair and equitable way. So we are an inclusive research team based in Sydney in Australia, and GeneQual is a research group made up of people with intellectual disability, healthcare workers and researchers across education, genetics, disability studies and ethics. We're very proud to have incredible co-researchers. So these are people involved in inclusive research who are not academic researchers but bring their lived experience and shape all stages of our research at GeneQual. And here is Julie Loblins, who has the Order of Australia and is an incredible co-researcher in our team. And we take a very strengths-based approach to intellectual disability, which is looking at the biopsychosocial model of intellectual disability, which is best summed up by Robert Strike here. Intellectual disability is a disability that slows down learning. We can learn if the way of teaching matches how the person learns. Intellectual disability is not an inability to think. We know what is going on around us and we can feel what's going on too. So 2% of the global population have an intellectual disability, and these are people, these are humans who deserve and should be getting great healthcare, but sadly often aren't. And getting a genetic diagnosis for the underlying cause of intellectual disability can be a great step forward. And genetic healthcare has such potential to improve healthcare outcomes for people with intellectual disability. However, sadly, when we spoke to people with intellectual disability who had had experiences of going through genetic healthcare as adults, we heard really sad stories that people were often ignored, that very negative language was used, that they weren't included in the conversations, and the result came back and that wasn't explained, so effectively was a useless diagnosis that wasn't leading to the potential of improved healthcare and support. And people, sadly, some of the people that were involved in genetic testing after getting a genetic result had contemplated to even taking their own lives. So this was something really serious that we thought was really important to do something about. It was important for people with intellectual disability, but wonderfully we heard also recommendations from people with intellectual disability about what we could do better. And to describe that, here is Sky Salfras, one of our incredible co-researchers.
People made suggestions for how things could improve. Some examples are as follows. For doctors to explain things well, to stop and listen so that the patient can receive and process the information properly. For them to talk slowly, because sometimes they talk too fast and use too much jargon. The doctor needs to stop and check that the patient understands, and they need to use pictures where possible, and also easy read, which is kind of like what you have on the screen here, a picture on one side and words on the next. That's a simple example with bullet points. And shorter words. Give people choices and use languages which make people feel respected.
So following that recommendation, we were so grateful to New South Wales Health that they funded us to make an educational toolkit. And you can find that both on the Centre for Genetics Education website, and I'll show you in a minute on our own website, which is genequal.com. So that includes world first easy read booklets explaining what a genetics appointment is and why people may consider to have a genetic test, and we're following that up with a easy read decision aid tool for genetic tests. But also really importantly, tips for healthcare workers and videos showing how healthcare currently often is for people with intellectual disability based on real life stories, and then how if they follow the tips, healthcare should look better. And we're going to show you that in 2 of these next videos.
So, it'd be good if I could get information about all Jess's problems from you before the doctor comes in. Perhaps if we could start with, whether she met her milestones growing up, whether she was delayed walking, talking, that sort of thing. Essentially, how she went at school, how severe her intellectual impairment is. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It has been very difficult for a long time. She has been impaired since her childhood, and she didn't even go to school with normal children.
So you can see the impact of this negative language and exclusion of the young person with intellectual disability, and how that reinforces the bad experiences that they've often had in their life. But then following the tips that people with intellectual disability have shared with us, this is how that healthcare could look.
The most important thing is that you feel comfortable. This is your appointment. Can you tell me what you'd like to get from the appointment today?
I want to know why I have a disability and some health problems.
That's a great question. And look, I can't promise you that we will find an answer. I can promise you that we'll try. Also, in genetics, it often takes us a long time to find answers. So we definitely won't have an answer for you today, but I'm happy to explain to you the process, what's involved, and keep you informed that way.
And so that's so important on Undiagnosed Disease Day, that realistic expectation of how that process may be, but really giving the pros and the cons of thinking about genetic testing so someone can make a full decision. And we're delighted that the evaluation of that toolkit has just been published in Genetics in Medicine. It's freely available for anyone that would like to read that. And what's really gratifying is that people with intellectual disability feel that the videos are really helpful, and they found the easy read guides very useful. And clinicians, so that's doctors and genetic counsellors, say that the tips are really helpful and the videos have helped change their practice. So we hope that you check them out too. You can find the toolkit on our website, www.genequal.com. It is available for anyone to download. So whether you yourself have an intellectual disability and are thinking about genetic testing, or on that diagnostic odyssey, or you're a parent, or you're a researcher or a clinician, we encourage you to check them out and let us know what you think, and join the people from 70 countries so far. We'd love to push that number up who have seen our toolkit. And stay in touch, because many more new resources are being developed. You can find us, we're our website, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and just recently on LinkedIn. So thank you very much for your time.
My name is David Pearce, and I'm the chair of the International Rare Disease Research Consortium, or UDNI, a global organization that tries to bring attention to rare and undiagnosed diseases. I want to tell you about a global effort that's been led by the Wilhelm Foundation right now. This global effort is all about the undiagnosed. So many people on this planet spend many years seeking a diagnosis. So many people on this planet do not get a diagnosis for a debilitating or chronic condition that they may have. So the Wilhelm Foundation is sponsoring a number of events. It's World Undiagnosed Disease Day, where a call to action, physicians across the globe are going to be telling us about the undiagnosed patients that they're seeing and the impact that they're having in trying to reach that diagnosis. They're trying to teach people how to recognize undiagnosed conditions, and using informatics and genome sequencing to diagnose more and more patients. Once you're diagnosed, you can have hope. Once you're diagnosed, you could potentially reach a treatment.
Hello everyone, I'm Mandy van Zelst. I'm a clinical geneticist and professor in care for rare at the Radboud University Medical Center in Nijmegen, the Netherlands. And last year, in 2024, we had the great honor to host the second edition of the International Undiagnosed Hackathon, which is a great initiative by the Wilhelm Foundation. We were able to, select 42 families without a diagnosis, of which for 26 families we generated new data, and for 16 families we reanalyzed existing data sets. So in total, 266 new data sets were generated, and the whole organization, with all logistics and everything, took us over 700 man-hours of meetings and mails to complete the organization of the Undiagnosed Hackathon. The families that were included came from 19 different countries. Our 122 participants came from 28 different countries and had a very mixed background in expertise. So we had clinicians, we had bioinformaticians, lab specialists that are experts in diagnostics, AI analysts, data analysts, etc. Like the first version of the Undiagnosed Hackathon, the 48-hour hackathon started with the personal stories of 10 Dutch families that are undiagnosed so far. Their personal stories really set the tone and created an urgency in the crowd to get started. And right after these personal stories, the teams were divided with a mixture of people, and then we really got started. So after 48 hours of searching for a diagnosis, we came up with 10 new diagnoses and 9 leads to a possible diagnosis, which is a very, very great outcome of this very successful hackathon. In our closing session, we asked the participants to come up with the success factor of the Undiagnosed Hackathon. And I took a picture of the word cloud that came up. And as you can see, it is collaboration. And collaboration is key for the success of the Undiagnosed Hackathon. And because of the fact that it is collaboration, and of course internationally, with a mixture of cultural and expertise background, we thought it would be a nice idea to see if we could have the same collaboration on a more local level or regional level. And that's why we organized a regional hackathon. And the results of that will be shown in a different video, but we do see that it can be really successful as well. And so we really hope that this inspires others to organize a local or a national hackathon to help as many patients as we can that have not been diagnosed so far. After the very successful second edition of the International Undiagnosed Hackathon in Nijmegen last year, we decided to organize a regional Undiagnosed Hackathon with both departments of human genetics and clinical genetics of Nijmegen and Maastricht. Like the international version of the Undiagnosed Hackathon, we divided ourselves into mixed teams and were able to look at generated long-read sequencing data of 54 patients that were so far undiagnosed. And those long-read genome sequencing data was generated because of a clinical utility study that is running at both departments right now. Within 48 hours, we were able to come up with 6 new diagnoses and 2 leads to a possible diagnosis. So again, also in a regional setting, this Undiagnosed Hackathon was really successful and created a great vibe to come up with diagnoses for our patients. And since it was so successful, we aim to host a national undiagnosed hackathon next year in April.
Happy Undiagnosed Disease Day, everyone. I'm Eric Klee.
And I'm Charisse Marcoux, and we are faculty at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. Today is a day we reflect on the needs of people living with undiagnosed disease and the dedicated effort of many clinicians, laboratorians, investigators, and others working to find diagnoses and cures for these individuals.
One event that truly exemplifies this collaborative effort is the Wilhelm Foundation's Undiagnosed Hackathon. Starting in 2023 in Stockholm, Sweden, and occurring again in 2024 in Nijmegen in the Netherlands, we have seen passionate people from around the world come together to give their time and expertise to seek out answers for participants living with these undiagnosed diseases.
We are excited to be part of continuing this worldwide engagement to solve the unsolvable. In 2025, the Wilhelm Foundation, in collaboration with the Mayo Clinic, are organizing the 3rd annual Undiagnosed Hackathon in the United States at the Mayo Clinic site in Rochester, Minnesota. It is our hope that we will convene yet another amazing meeting with collaborators from around the globe working together to find answers for all of the participants living with undiagnosed disease that are selected for this event.
So everyone, mark your calendars and keep an eye on the Wilhelm Foundation's website, as we will soon be releasing applications for both collaborators and participants to join us at the 3rd Undiagnosed Hackathon happening at the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota on September 22nd and September 23rd. On September 24th, we will also be hosting an additional rare disease symposium, which will showcase a series of talks and panel discussions addressing the current innovations in rare disease genetics.
Again, we want to wish everyone the best on this Undiagnosed Disease Day.
Thank you, everybody.
Greeting from Georgia, from the beautiful Tbilisi. My name is Oleg Kulevidze. I represent the Georgia Foundation for Genetic and Rare Diseases. Thank you so much, dear Helen and Mick, for the opportunity to join the Global Undiagnosed Day action. Actualization of the undiagnosed disease problem is one of the main directions of our current activity. In 2023, the 12th UDNI Congress was successfully held in Georgia, which was one of the main events of the year for the medical research and patient community of our country. Georgian professionals regularly participate in the UDNI working groups and hackathon activities. Thanks to these two fantastically useful initiatives, the many years diagnostic odyssey of several patients from Georgia was successfully completed. Thanks you all so much for giving hope back to our patients. Our task for 2025 and subsequent years is the creation and implementation of the national program for undiagnosed disease. Congratulations to everyone on the Global Undiagnosed Day.
Good morning, my name is Jeffrey Higgins. At the Harriet Joyce Foundation, we are always reminded that while science and innovation continue to advance, those advances are not reaching everyone equally. And in that gap, in that injustice, children are suffering. We believe that where a child is born should not determine whether they live a full and healthy life. But today, too often, it does. When I visit hospitals, rural clinics, or sit with families in Ecuador, I am reminded why we do the work that we do. They're me. That child could have been me or yours. That mother's fear, that father's hope, that grandparents' quiet resilience, they are not foreign. They are familiar. Their dreams are ours. Their future is our responsibility. That is why we have committed ourselves to building a future where genomic medicine, environmental safety, and quality healthcare are not reserved for a privileged few, but are accessible to every child, everywhere. Together with our partners in science, medicine, and technology, We are working to bring cutting-edge newborn screening and rare disease care to the communities that need it most. This is not charity, this is justice, and it is how we turn empathy into action. To everyone who supports this mission, thank you for walking alongside us. You are helping us to build a world where the advances of science, medicine, and technology truly belong to all of us. And to every family, every parent, every child, I close with this message. You are seen, you are valued, you deserve the best that science can offer. Thank you.
Hi, I want to share a message of hope today on Undiagnosed Disease Day. My oldest daughter has a very rare disorder, and we spent many years searching for answers for her delays. She was diagnosed with global developmental delays, speech impairments, and ultimately autism spectrum disorder, until finally she developed epilepsy, and a neurologist cracked the code and got us the answer we had needed so long. She was diagnosed with a disorder that has a treatment, and if it started at birth, can lead to outcomes of no epilepsy and no intellectual disabilities. So when her younger brother was born, we knew to test him at birth. And now he is a teenager and he is not affected by GAMP deficiency the way his big sister is. So there's many things that can come from a diagnosis. And that's my message for, the clinicians out there who maybe have a patient where they haven't found answers and they feel that a diagnosis that is based on symptoms alone is sufficient, when in fact there may be a treatment already available, or there may be no treatment available at the time, but that family can stop looking for answers and they can start focusing on finding a treatment, which is what my organization has been doing. So our association has 2 treatable disorders of creatine synthesis, and the children just need to take creatine to address that problem. And then they have a disorder that does not have a treatment. It's called creatine transporter deficiency. And either way, the parents are happy to finally have an answer to their questions when they receive that diagnosis. And for the families out there, I want to say there is hope, whether there is a treatment available or not. Our organization has led the way in nominating the treatable disorder that my children have for inclusion on the United States RUSP, which is the Recommended Uniform Screening Panel for newborns. And we're close to half of the newborns in the United States now are being screened for this disorder. So those families are getting an instant answer without any diagnostic odyssey. But also our children with creatine transporter deficiency, we are leading the way in funding research, and we have researchers around the world united to address this problem. And no matter what the disorder, families deserve an answer. So I'm so grateful for this day and that we're getting the word out, and I hope that all of you can find an answer to your child's struggles, and so you can find some form of a better tomorrow for them, and you can join with other parents who also are affected by the same disease and really make a difference, because you can. So hang in there.
One day, one world, numerous lives waiting for an answer. Join the Undiagnosed Disease Network to find solutions. Let's all work together and pledge in so that we can diagnose more and more conditions together.
Hello, I am Uğur Özbek, medical geneticist in İzmir Biomedicine and Genome Center in Turkey, joining you for the April 29th Global Undiagnosed Day, and we stand in solidarity with the 350 million people worldwide living without the diagnosis. Currently, our research focuses on the rare and undiagnosed disease, research and soft skill capacity building for the patients and also the families. And through the two European projects, Horizon supported Rare Boost and Erdera, we work on the undiagnosed rare patients, and over the 2 years we have been able to diagnose more than 20 cases out of 100. But of course these are not the numbers, and each diagnosis represents a person, a family, and a long journey to the answer. And April 29th is the Global Undiagnosed Day, so we stand with our patients and the researchers. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ann Nordgren and I work at Karolinska University Hospital and Karolinska Institute, and I'm also the leader of Karolinska's Undiagnosed Disease program. And I'm happy to give a talk today to tell you a little bit about what's happening in Stockholm right now. And I'm also looking forward to listening to all the nice presentations and discussions that will be ongoing during the Undiagnosed Day. In Sweden, we are currently running a project where we have offered 200 children, most of them recruited through Wilhelm Foundation, to be part of a study where we use whole genome sequencing, short read trios, long read sequencing, RNA-seq, and epic arrays, as well as exome, deep exome sequencing to try to find the diagnosis. And we have informed consents from all the participants. We have performed a detailed clinical phenotyping, and also there is a psychosocial study where the patients or parents have to fill in a questionnaire and also participate in interviews to learn more about living with an undiagnosed disease. We have also had the first undiagnosed hackathon in Stockholm, where 46 experts from all over Sweden met and tried to solve 12 undiagnosed patients from 10 families. And we were looking at data from short read whole genome sequencing, long read whole genome sequencing, and also from short read RNA-seq. And this was a really, really nice event where we learned a lot from each other. And as you know, collaboration is key in this field when it comes to trying to solve undiagnosed diseases. Preliminary data this far from the first 71 patients out of the 200, we have been able to diagnose 21% of these very, very difficult cases. And this has been performed through reanalysis, but also by combining the different, like RNA-seq and the genomic data. And we have found about 19% CNVs and also deep intronic variants. And about 59% had a de novo variant, but almost 30% were inherited, meaning that there is an increased, there is a recurrence risk for the parents of having an additional child with the same disorder. And now in 2025, we have received funding to perform long read sequencing of an additional 1,000 Swedish patients, which is really nice. A high-level problem statement in rare and undiagnosed diseases is that there is lack of access to harmonized, standardized, and codified quality health data to learn from. And we really need to structure data within healthcare. And this has been said for 30 years, and it's not easy because there are legal aspects, ethical aspects, and commercial aspects, and so on. But nevertheless, we are now performing a project in Stockholm that I have initiated called the Symptomics Project, where we are combining data from different sources. We are going to try to clean data from free text from electronic health records and transform it into HPO terms. We're going to combine that data with data from clinical genetics, pathology, chemistry, and so on. We're also going to add patient-reported data and omics data to this analysis, as well as imaging. And what we believe is that this is going to be very helpful in to accelerate diagnostics and also enable a better cost-effective person-centered care. And it will also improve our possibilities to perform research for knowledge sharing and also for industry collaboration. So Mick and Helen, Wilhelm Foundation, we are in. We really love this, what you are doing, and we're so thankful for all the help from you. Thank you so much. And I also want to thank all my colleagues and friends from Sweden, and also for my all the fantastic help that we get from the UDNI Diagnostic Working Group, and also from my colleagues within ERA and Ithaca. Thank you so much.
Since the beginning of time, we've shared through stories with villains, stories with heroes, stories with mysteries, stories looking for answers. For the undiagnosed, their story is a mystery. Their story is looking for answers. And it's so important that we respect their stories, their words, how they tell us what their experiences are. As doctors, we might call those signs, symptoms, phenotypes. But we must listen. We cannot dismiss their stories, because there is knowledge, there is power, there is light in their stories. Too many times we do not listen. Too many times the clue that will provide the answer goes unheard. We must respect their stories. We must respect them as storytellers, like we would respect our grandparents, our elders, and the stories they share with us. Particularly in this modern age with all our new technology, we must become better listeners to stories. We must become better tellers of stories. And it's through those shared stories we will deliver the answers, the hope, the certainty that a diagnosis brings. So let us all be better listeners of stories. Let us all be better tellers of stories. Let us all share stories from the undiagnosed so we can get to the answers together.